I mean, that happens all the time, and we're not going to say who, but I mean, come on. There's all kinds of infighting. That's what they want. They don't want unity. That's one thing they have that our community does not have. They really do work together. They may do it because they're afraid for their lives and it's all a pecking order, but they work as a team. And they've been working as a team for thousands of years, pursuing this goal of a new world order, where they, in their little religious cult, are the only ones who get to have a good life, and the rest of us are down on our knees. That's what they want, and they want a lot fewer of us to be their servants. Now, that's not a good, warm, fuzzy thing, okay? That's not something people like to hear. But to get back to our analogy of the domestic violence for a minute.
Right.
That's what happens in a domestic violence relationship. That's what happens when you are in a relationship with a sociopath. That person wants to cut off all of your access to happiness, to social interaction, so that you are effectively constantly under their control. And so what's happening is, in order for somebody to get out of a relationship like that, you have to have the resources within yourself of strength to break free. You have to get a breather. You have to have enough time to breathe so you can actually figure out an exit plan. What's happening is that they are having to do more and more of these false flags and these fake provocations and fear-mongering because they're not getting the high that they used to get. It's like you mentioned in the first half hour, this Hollywood heroin that people are taking that's like so, we don't know why they're dying from it. Maybe it's just really pure, but something's wrong.
Right.
They're not getting the high off of their street drugs of false flags and phony terrorism and, you know, stealing our money. They're not getting the payoff that they used to because there is a vast international alliance working against them. And one of the reasons, Jimmy, why I voluntarily passed up the opportunity to do the whole show by myself, and I told you I want you to bring Corey on,
Right.
is because I am not enough. I don't know enough. I don't know the latest and greatest inside intel because I've just been working for 3 weeks on this book. This story is changing so fast that you have to constantly be talking to insiders to keep up with what's going on.
That's right.
Let me give you one example. What the heck happened last week with the top 4 security personnel for Hillary Clinton driving down the road, and this car drives into their oncoming lane at top speed and has a head-on collision with the top of her security team, and they all die.
Right.
And what do we know? We know the cabal can hack a vehicle.
That's right.
So what are they going to do? They're going to pick the most burned out looking guy they can, and they're going to say, oh, well, of course he was on a nod, and he drifted over into the oncoming lane. No, that's not what happened. It's too freaking convenient, man. It's too convenient that the 4 guys that are her top security people just so happen to get in a head-on collision, and they all burn to death.
Our spirits.
What were they going to say? What were they going to release? Did they think that they had it covered? Did they think that nobody knew that they were about to do this?
Right.
That's the kind of questions we have to be asking right now. You have to look at why does the Western media want you to hate Vladimir Putin and Russia? And you and I, of course, know the answer already. Because they're out there leaking like a sieve.
That's right. And where is the responsible journalist to report on this effectively? Not only with Hillary, but our relationship with Putin. Where is that responsible guy or guy that is willing to just go out there and put themselves, because that's the way effective reporting used to be. Where you're not
going to get it in a 6-figure an episode television show. It doesn't exist.
No, it does
You're
not.
You're going to get it in stuff like what I'm doing on Gaia, and you're going to get it in talk radio like what we're doing here with Mike Adams, Natural News, and you merging with him, which, by the way, congratulations, man. You deserve it. It's totally awesome. And I have my hat off to you.
Yeah,
so,
thank you so much. And
even though I never wear a hat because it'll make me bald.
You know, and when you speak, not only on this show, and I know you get lots of feedback, and you've got, time, but when you speak out in public, and we'll be doing that, geez, can you believe it? In 3-4 short weeks, we'll be doing Content Live together. I know. It's like last year just blew by, and here we are again. But when you go out there and speak, how much of feedback do you get from people that are in attendance where they come up and go, dude, exactly right. Exactly right, because that is where the message gets out. It gets out speaking live in public, shows like this, but it's not going to happen on CNN. It's not going to happen on Fox. It happens right here, right now. And the other part about that, David, is I think Fox and it just pick one of the 3-letter networks would be shocked if they knew how large our audience was and how much people care and listen. They would be shocked. They wouldn't believe the numbers.
There are certain talk radio talents out there that we're not going to say who they are, but they have such a massive following, and that they're charging for it. They have so much money, they have no idea what to do with it. And they're going after the government. And I heard this from one of my insiders. This guy's literally making millions a month, and he doesn't know what the heck to do with it. Do I invest it? Well, then they're probably going to take my investments. Do I buy gold? But then somebody can steal it, blah, blah, blah. The point is, even my show with Corey Good, Cosmic Disclosure, we have the metrics to prove that there's more people watching Cosmic Disclosure than are watching CNN.
That's right.
So, and we're not anywhere near what I'm talking about in these talk radio shows. People want the truth, and they're willing to go all the way back to the oldest technology for communication that we have in order to hear it. Because the truth is sweeter than propaganda. People are tired of drinking vinegar. They don't want to drink motor oil. They want to drink something that's nice. And this is actually something that increases your health and makes you feel better. So
yeah, totally. And I had said, and you probably read this, I posted last week, and I know I was having like a kumbaya moment, but what I had said to everybody, and I said it at the beginning of this show, if going into 2016 collectively, us, if we just are just a little bit better, a little bit tastier, a little bit nicer, one step at a time, we can beat this thing.
Well, it's more than that, Jimmy. You're absolutely correct, but we have to clarify why you're correct. And that is, remember what I said before, I'm trying to build a structure that we can keep referring back to throughout the show. So I mentioned the idea of a labyrinth.
Right.
Some people think they know what I'm talking about when I say that. And they think that what I mean is, the Federal Reserve is controlling us, and if you look at the number on the dollar, that's a stock number, everybody's social... No, I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about the fact that the media is lying to you. I'm not talking about the fact that 5 corporations own all the cable channels and own all the newspapers, and everybody knows that. Everybody who's bothering to listen to this show, yes, they're going to get there's going to be cries of Hosanna when they hear things they already know, but I'm going a lot deeper, okay? I'm saying we're in a metaphysical illusion, and it is a holographic illusion in which the issues that we face on a global level are spiritual issues, first and foremost, and they're global projections of the psychological and psycho-spiritual issues that each of us has to go through in the process of our own healing. And if that's too unclear, let me get right to the meat of why I said that. By healing ourselves, we heal the planet. And that is not just some woo-woo, airy-fairy thing. That is very thoroughly scientifically provable. And again, my favorite way to do that is go back to this meditation effect where 7,000 people are in a state of calm and peace, and that causes a 72% reduction in war, crime, terrorism, and fatalities. Now, there's a lot of other data, too. There was a thing that came out on Yahoo News. It was on Huffington Post. This was very recently, and I will probably include this in my next article when I write up our show. I didn't have a chance to do that today. I had to go get some food. But Anyway, the point is, the number of wars in the world is actually going down and down and down. The amount of domestic violence that's happening in people's own homes is going down and down and down. The planet is becoming more and more harmonious. So all the people in the middle are actually getting better. It's the people on the extreme end of the spectrum, the people that have intergenerational satanic cults, which is really what's going on. It's very uncomfortable, but that's what's happened at the highest level. They don't think it's Satanism, they think it's Luciferianism, and I'm sure your listeners know this. But the point is, if you can believe that there's a Luciferian cult running the world, don't forget about the fact that all of the great religions anticipated that and told us that we're in a spiritual illusion and told us that there's a positive, happy ending to this because there are spiritual forces for the positive working that are vastly more effective at bringing us through this whole transition safely than we could ever do with any type of grassroots campaign on the internet or with militia people occupying federal buildings or any of that kind of stuff. We do require divine intervention to get through this, because when you understand how evil the cabal is and how wide its scope is, there is no possible way to stand up to that military-industrial complex. There is only the possibility of collaboration with the greater team that's out there. Then you have to realize, oh shit, they've lied to me.
Right.
I didn't know that there were extraterrestrials. I thought that was nonsense. I laughed at those people. Then I walked out my backyard one day, and there's this gigantic rectangle of light. This is why these 4 football fields lighting up my backyard like it's brighter than the daytime.
Right.
Which actually happened to the mother of a friend of mine, my brother's friend actually. She's still not actually a UFO believer. This happened back in the 80s. But she knows what she saw. Okay, so once you understand that these people have not allowed us to know the truth about that we are not alone, recognize that the main reason, apart from all the stuff, okay, granted, we can get free energy out of it, we can get anti-gravity, we can eliminate the need for a financial system, those are big incentives. But the main reason why they don't want us to know is that these people are our allies that are here to help us. That's why UFOs are seen over nuclear missile installations. And one of the most classified things that I've heard now is that there have been multiple cases of UFOs completely melting down all of the nuclear arsenal. The cabal doesn't even have any nuclear missiles sitting in those silos anymore. They have a different weapon on the rocket, but it is not a nuke, because the ETs will not allow them to have nukes. That's already been happening since at least the 80s, if not, and that's only when it really stepped up a lot, but it's been going on ever since they developed the technology.
I find it strange, and I mention it all the time on this show, but I find it strange that there's been a multitude of guys in the Pentagon that have wanted to use tactical nuclear weapons.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, many, and couldn't and didn't. There's a reason for that. There is an intervention. I can't explain it any other way because the opportunities were there. Can you imagine the war room at the Pentagon, the argument, let's go. You know, let's do this now. And they can't. There's a reason.
Well, think about this, Jimmy. Let me just toss this in, then you can continue. I just want to say this because it's really good. JFK, John F. Kennedy, instituted the policy of launch codes for the nuclear missiles, where there's this long series of digits, and you've seen the movies where both guys have to key it in, and then they both have to pop up the thing and turn the key to launch the nukes, right?
Right.
It's been declassified that after JFK was assassinated, and we know it was LBJ, it was Lyndon Baines Johnson, who becomes president, who then, within 2 or 3 years, he's got 200,000 American men in Vietnam. Okay? You think that's a coincidence? No. What was he doing? They changed the nuclear launch code to 000000, so that there was no way that even somebody flubbing the launch code could stop them from launching the nukes. They wanted a nuclear war. They wanted those missiles to go up. Because they have Taj Mahal right under our feet. They have an awesome, awesome underground civilization. With, I mean, you would cream your jeans when you see these cities down there that they've got right now, and the bullet trains that could interconnect them. They're going to be fine. If they blew up the surface of the planet, they're fine. They don't have anything to worry about. Except, let's get back to this, right? We're living in a maze. We're living in a hologram. There are people managing this hologram. And the negatives are not any more powerful by design than what we authorize them to be by the amount of negativity in our own private lives. So as we heal our private lives, we're holographically improving the collective. This also works with geophysics. Why hasn't California had the big one? There's so many people here who are doing positive work on themselves that they're actively wicking out the stress from the earth. They're always look, dude, the movie San Andreas, you tell me that that's not cabal predictive programming where they put, do you remember, Jimmy, driving around LA when that movie was getting ready to come out?
Yes, I
Everywhere you look, there's the rock, right?
Right.
And here he is in a helicopter with the military helmet, and what's behind him? LA freaking cracked in half, falling into the ocean.
That's right.
Because they know the power of our imagination. It's the biggest thing that they have been withholding in terms of esoteric science, is that we actually are in a co-creative reality. The laws of physics are plastic and malleable and are thought responsive. So if they could get enough people to start worrying about California sinking into the ocean, then that would authorize it so that they can send down their little 5th-gen micro nukes and things like that, and make a few tactical strikes on the fault line and hope that it's going to go. Well, that didn't work, but unfortunately, what's one of the things that I'm almost entirely positive they're responsible for, that they did get to work? This methane disaster right next to LA right now.
Yeah, right next to us, yes.
Yeah. Tell me that's an accident, okay? Tell me, oh, it just so happens that there's this big explosion underground, and all this methane is leaking out over one of the 2 largest population centers in America. It's not an accident, just like BP was not a natural event. They blew the wellheads.
Did you see the news release on that today here in Los Angeles, that they're not going to be able to fix that methane leak for months?
I heard that that the earliest they could do it is March because of the way they're drilling in. But yeah,
Right, yeah.
we got at least hundreds of thousands, if not potentially millions or billions of metric tons of methane, a deadly toxin, just gassing out into the atmosphere right now.
Let's take a quick break there, David. And when we come back, David, I want you to get ready, because I'm going to hit you with Hillary's big announcement about Disclosure 2016. Tonight, David Wilcock. This is Fade to Black. A little bit later, we'll be joined by Corey Good. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. More with David Wilcock right after this short break. Stay right there. Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, David Wilcock is with us in a little bit. Corey Good's going to jump in. Tomorrow night, Peter Lavenda is here, talking about exactly what David and I are talking about now. The cabal, the New World Order, whatever you want to call it. Who is running the planet tomorrow night? Peter Lavenda will be talking about that. And then Wednesday, Robert Sullivan IV and Esoteric Hollywood and symbolism in the media. Again, something that David and I are actually talking about right now. Hey, David, I want to get back to the underground complexes. There's a bunch of questions that have popped up here on Twitter, so I want to go back and address that in a second. But last week, Hillary goes, with a reporter at the Conway Tribune, I believe, and said that Podesta convinced her a neighbor to swear on disclosure and maybe sending a team out to Area 51. I don't know if it was said in jest or not. That reporter, Amy, is going to have on the show later on in the week. But I know you got the news. I know you read it. What did you think when you put your eyes on that?
Well, at this point, if it happens under any circumstances, that's better than it not happening. And my guess is that Hillary knows an awful lot more than she's saying, but I also feel that the more of these kinds of stories get out into the public, the better it is for everybody, because it's actually giving us more and more grounds for people to take this seriously, because all along, the reason why more people don't know about this is part of a massive, decades-long psychological operation that was designed to create a feeling of social ostracism in anyone who decides that they are willing to look at the evidence and take this seriously. And the fact that anybody wouldn't take it seriously, considering the extraordinary amount of high-quality data that goes all the way back to recorded history. It's true that if you go into ancient times, it's going to more be stone buildings. And if you go into modern times, you're going to be seeing these things in the sky and insider testimony and that kind of stuff. But it's all the same people out there that have been visiting us this whole time. And it depends on what kind of civilizations are on Earth and how authorized they are to work with them. So when you have civilizations that have a more spiritual focus, where people are coming from a more positive place, then these beings are allowed to actually come here and help us. And when we see these pyramids, we're seeing the relics of other times in history where we had very direct assistance, and it was obvious that these beings were working with us and building very wonderful things. The pyramid technology has been discredited to some degree by the fact that the cabal has co-opted that symbol and put it on the dollar. But the pyramid is marvelous technology that will heal the body and it will heal the earth. It just does an incredible amount of things. It purifies water. It gets rid of radioactivity. It reduces the threat of earthquakes. It reduces the threat of volcanoes. It reduces the threat of severe weather. It gets rid of all forms of disease and illness. It gets rid of mental illness. It gets rid of psychoactive problems. If you just have a pyramid and you're living near it, it will radically improve and transform the lives of everyone in that area, because it is a healing technology, much like an acupuncture needle for the earth.
No doubt.
So you have to remember, again, there's a lot of folks out there who believe that they're acting out of everyone's best interest in thinking that every extraterrestrial is a demon from hell, and they're all evil, and it's all Satan. Guess who planted that meme in the public's consciousness?
Tell me.
Well, of course, it's Mr. Rogers. You know?
Yeah, right, exactly. Getting back to the underground facilities that are here,
Yeah, sure.
is there a connection, and I want to talk about Phil Schneider too as well, is there a connection between the cabal and what has been built, underneath Denver Airport, for example, and underground civilizations that have been here for millennia?
There absolutely is a connection. The cabal, on numerous occasions, has been drilling underground tunnels, which, of course, they have these nuclear-controlled drills. You can look them up online.
Sure.
That work incredibly fast and are incredibly powerful, leaving nothing but a glass tube, because they literally melt all the rock to glass with a nuclear-powered drill. So they've drilled into ancient cities. In some cases, they're still inhabited countless times. One of the things that Corey Good has brought to the table really has helped to advance our collective knowledge in several respects, is the fact that there are extremely, extremely ancient cities inside the Earth when you go deep enough And when I say extremely ancient, I'm talking now over 500 million years old and possibly up to 2 billion years old. Because there was a race that colonized our solar system very extensively 2 billion years ago. That's actually 2.6 billion years ago is what it looks like based on what we're studying. And interestingly enough, they left relics all over the solar system on moons and side moons, on various solid planets, and they're still there. They were built so well with such an advanced technology. It's this weird transparent aluminum alloy that actually looks like crystal, that these ruins still exist today.
Transparent aluminum alloy.
Yeah.
Explain.
There is some sort of material science that we have missed out on, that basically the way that we get materials right now is kind of a hit and miss system, because it's based on an inappropriate knowledge of how matter and energy actually functions. We're trying to make matter behave like particles. And when we do that, we're going to get wimpy, cheap materials that break apart. They don't have good thermal resistance. They don't have the durability. They rust. They oxidize. They don't last. Once you understand that matter is not made of particles, but that matter is actually made of sacred geometry, which is the patterns that this fluid-like energy of the universe takes, you can then design materials in a geometric lattice which do not have holes in the van der Waals bonds of the atoms. That's what the holes in the van der Waals bonds are, what is needed to oxidize and to rust and to break down materials. When you build a material that is a perfect sacred geometry lattice, like what's called a quasi-crystal, what happens is there's nowhere for decay to get in there. It's almost indestructible. And so what has happened is that our ancient ancestors, because remember, the universe is 13 billion years old and the Earth is only 4 billion years old. There's plenty of time for people to have had 4 billion years before our planet was ever even made to get up to the level that we are at now and beyond.
Many times over.
And they've already been here. They've already been through our solar system, because one of the tricks is our solar system is in a huge hotspot for our galaxy, because you can't just leave the galaxy. You have to go out through a portal. And those portals are determined by certain geometric energy fields. And it just so happens that we live right next to one of the biggest transfer stations that we can take out of our galaxy to get to other places in other galaxies. So as a result of that, there's been a lot of traffic through our solar system, literally for billions of years. And they use this transparent aluminum material, which the aluminum is not really in a metallic state, it's in a quasi-crystalline lattice. And our scientists are only starting to be able to understand this technology. But also, interestingly enough, this technology can appear to be nothing more than stone. And so, in the Earth, down there right now, we go far enough down, there are ancient cities that are totally abandoned, where all of the buildings are made out of this transparent crystal. And they're huge, and we could go down there, but because of the secrecy and the cover-up, we're being denied access, and they don't have the staff to explore these regions. But there are literally thousands of different cities inside the Earth, pocket cavity, where this technology still exists. And one of the things that happened with the cabal is that all these various extraterrestrial groups, which I would consider interlopers, these are not the big guys, were showing up and saying, hey, if you guys find us some of these stone slabs, and here's what they look like, we'll show you the pictures of them, go into some of these underground cities and grab as many of those as you can. We'll give you whatever you want. And for a long time they did it because they did not understand these are not just dumb pieces of stone. These are like iPads, but, you know, multi-dimensional iPads that can levitate gigantic blocks of stone. They can travel you through time. They can create a stasis field that allows you to jump through time tens of thousands of years just like that. Wham! And the ETs knew that because, believe it or not, our Earth is like one of the greatest treasure chests in the galaxy because of this ancient builder race, they call it, that was over 2 billion years old, that left all these relics behind, and they're right under our feet right now. And if we re-access that technology, it will literally kickstart the space age, the real space age, that has nothing to do with rockets going to the moon. We already have the capability to be visiting other solar systems, and now NASA has publicly announced that 20% of all the stars that we see have Earth-like worlds that we could live on. So we're not going to have to work very hard to find a place for, oh, well, we need to get rid of excess people. No, we don't. That's a mind control, cabal nonsense tactic, because you got 1.6 billion people in India, you got well over 1 billion people in China, and they don't want to lose control of the planet. It's really sad.
I had a little get-together over at Cassaday Church over the weekend, and pretty eclectic group of minds, researchers, authors, and stuff. And we were the question of flat Earth, and okay, and that part of the conversation lasted every bit of 15 seconds, but what did come up, and we talked about for a couple of hours, was the hollow earth, or the thought of ancient civilizations, living, underneath us right now. That part of the conversation lasted for a couple of hours, and I'm talking about some pretty brilliant minds that were sitting at the table, and everybody put forth that they didn't, it was just like, yeah, okay, we can talk about this. Flat Earth came and went, flew out the window, wasn't forgotten. But there are so many civilizations around the world that have had, do I want to say mythology or legend or stories that have been handed down for thousands of years. This is not a new concept, and this is something that is very tangible and real and possible, that we can explore that thought. And I find that just an amazing conversation. This isn't, what do I want to say here? This isn't conjecture or some crazy idea. This is something that has been talked about forever on planet Earth.
Well, and when you have beings like us that evolve into the next level of their evolutionary path, they're going to start to have lifespans that are drastically longer than ours. Some of these Anunnaki beings, for example, might actually have a lifespan that could go on for tens of thousands of years or longer. And so there are positive and negative forces that have extremely long lifespans. And the problem is that when you live on the surface of a planet, you're subject to catastrophes over and over again. They just happen. When you're inside the planet, you can ride them out and